want to show you something that was happening in New York last night. To show you the type of tuner hooks we're on right now, a motorcycle actually was backfiring in Times Square, but a lot of people mistook the noise for a shooter and bullets, and it was pandemonium. People eventually calmed down. A couple of people were injured, being trampled on, but it is a sign of our times right now. It's a psychotherapist, Dr. Robi Ludwig, on that, and what you do to get through times like this. Doctor, we always have to talk during these moments.
I know.
But that was a classic case, fully understandable, where people quite properly panicked for good reason, given developments over the last week. What do you tell them?
People have to live their lives. You want to be vigilant and know how to protect yourself and know where the exit is and be mindful and try to keep calm. But you do have to live your life because these incidents are horrible. We hear about every single one, but they still are statistically not likely to happen in your everyday life. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be aware and self-protective.
But people are leery of even going into public places or where crowds gather. Times Square, of course, famously one of the more crowded tourist meccas in the world. What do you tell them? That just there are people now are saying, I don't want to go into a store. I don't want to go to where a lot of people congregate.
Sometimes people need to take a time out and feel like they're in control of their lives, and that could be a good thing. But if it goes on too long and you're just isolating, then it's not good. Then you're not living your life. I often tell my patients that what's the most dangerous room in the house? Your bathroom. But you're not going to avoid your bathroom. That's where the most accidental deaths happen. But everybody has to use the bathroom every day. So we just need to be mindful, realistic, do your due diligence, but you have to live your life because that's what these terroristic attacks do. They get us to be fearful, understandably so.
What do you make of the fact that the assailants, by and large, across the board in these incidents that have picked up, young, angry white men, whether they're driven by hatred on the right or hatred on the left, it's just rage, palpable rage.
Yeah, it's rage that's not managed correctly and becomes nuclear at some point. I think a lot of it has to do with emotional management and intelligence. We are not teaching men how to deal with feeling powerless and emasculated in a way that's nonviolent, that it's okay to feel vulnerable. It's okay to feel hopeless. What are other ways to feel empowered? What are other nonviolent ways to feel like you can make a difference? I was speaking to my son, who's part of this generation, and he said, you know, a lot of kids feel like, oh my gosh, we've inherited all of these difficulties. What can we really do to make a difference? And to the person who is not well, who is really very down on any possibility of being successful, they follow and idealize the wrong person. So these shooters become rock stars in their mind. They want infamy if they can't get fame. They become dysfunctional in the ways that they try to achieve some degree in their mind of what success and being important is.
But do you, as a therapist, get a little taken aback when you hear, particularly in the El Paso shooter's case, prior girlfriends, friends had said that he was thinking, sharing pretty violent images and reflections on mass shooters, particularly the New Zealand shooter, the Australian shooter. And now they want to resurrect these sort of red flag type of legislation where they could share that with authorities and then maybe hone in on these individuals.
Very important. I really like the idea that these mass shootings are horrible, but it's a time when we all come together. It's a national awakening of sorts, where people from different points of view come together to find common ground so that we can all heal as a country. And so this is a step in the right direction because what we do know is past violent behavior is a predictor of future violent behavior. And these young...
Or thinking about it.
Or thinking about it, idealizing it. I think it's better safe than sorry. So what we know is that when we look at crime, guns and people don't live in a vacuum. There's a historical context, and we need to look at when they come together, and particularly, Dan, more about it. It's complex. It's not reduced to one single issue. And I think if we understand that, we'll all be moving in the right direction.
I think you're right about that. Something's got to be done. Doctor, thank you very, very much.